Strong aftershocks continue to hit Taiwan's east coast after a massive earthquake left 17 dead. A win for disability rights for foreigners, but challenges remain ahead. Taiwan's gaming industry gets a competitive edge with new funding. Plus, the U.S. calls foul play over an investigation into Chinese athletes involved in a doping scandal. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Leslie Liao. The eastern county of Hualien has been rattled by dozens of earthquakes. That area is still recovering from a massive tremor earlier this month that left 17 people dead. Reese Ayers is following the story for us in Taipei. Reese, how have these latest quakes been affecting people?
Well, the recent quakes in Hualien have been so intense that there are stories coming out from the county of people escaping their homes in the early hours of the morning, grabbing whatever they can and running for open spaces over fears the buildings above them could collapse. There's also reports that one of the bigger quakes in the early hours of the morning has brought another building in Hualien to a precarious angle. Now, the Central Weather Administration is saying that these are probably just a continuation of the aftershocks we're experiencing after that massive 7.2 magnitude earthquake on April 3rd. Despite having about a break of a week or so where we didn't have any significant quakes, that seems to have changed in the last 24 hours as this new wave of aftershocks continues to trouble the country. The Central Weather Administration have recorded dozens of quakes between magnitude 3 and 5 and even 2 magnitude 6 or over earthquakes. Now, most of those are being recorded at depths of about 5 to 10 kilometers, some as shallow as 2, which is incredibly shallow. And when it's that close to the surface, you can really feel the power of the earth. And nowhere's feeling that intensity quite as much as the east coast of Taiwan. Now, John Van Trieste has a bit more for us about how these recent quakes are affecting Hualien.
A sleepless night in an earthquake-stricken city. Just 3 weeks after a magnitude 7.2 earthquake hit Hualien, fresh aftershocks rattled the city every few minutes well into the morning. Some reached magnitude 6 or greater.
下午开始就开始在有地震今天凌晨的时候就特别大。
Two buildings were unable to withstand the shaking. One had already been condemned. But the other, which housed a hotel, had not been flagged as potentially unsafe.
这栋没有被通报为要去做紧急评估，所以目前它没有被贴单。我家人在楼上这边进得去吗？
Firefighters rushed to help find people trapped inside. This woman was taken to a nearby hospital just to be safe. Meanwhile, those able to get out themselves brought whatever they could carry, realizing they've now joined the thousands of people already displaced by Hualien's recent earthquakes. Hualien County officials canceled all work and classes Tuesday, warning that more aftershocks are coming.
大小余震非常的频繁也不断，我想今天大家也都在这个惊惶恐惧，从昨天晚上到现在，所以请乡亲这个如果能够到空旷的地方，尽量到空旷的地方，那不要在大厦里面。
And while seismologists say what's happening in Hualien isn't unusual after a major earthquake, they say the shaking could continue for some time.
那以过去来看，这种大规模地震，它可能整个余震的延续到数个月到半年都是有可能的。
They say there's even a very small chance an even bigger earthquake could be on the way.
过去的统计是大概5%的机会，它是一个前震的情形。
There is no way to predict earthquakes, though, making this a matter of chance. The one thing seismologists agree on is that Taiwan is one part of the world where quakes are bound to happen. The only thing people in Hualien and elsewhere across the country can do is to prepare for even more tremors ahead. Luffy Li and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
As John said there's a general feeling of uncertainty across Taiwan. Just earlier today in the TaiwanPlus newsroom, many of us felt several of the bigger tremors from the day, and we're all hoping that it's really not a sign that there's something bigger to come.
So, Reese, what can we expect moving forwards?
Well, the government are taking extra precautions just in case these are not aftershocks, but in fact foreshocks before a bigger event. It's only in Hualien at the moment that school and work has been cancelled, but the government is advising people not to go near to the mountains of Taiwan, which covers a lot of Taiwan's geography, for fear of landslides. As we learned 3 weeks ago, landslides have caused a majority of the death and destruction, but there seems to be some kind of issue with Taiwan's earthquake notification system. Some people saying they've received no notifications at all, not even for the bigger quakes. Some people saying they did get some messages through. It's all adding to this sense of unease across the country. People in Hualien saying that they're scared and panicked, and people I've spoken to say they're experiencing phantom earthquake syndrome, that feeling that things are kind of constantly wobbling around you between real quakes. Everyone's kind of on edge and just waiting for the next big quake to happen.
Well, hopefully that will never come. Thanks, Reese. That was Reese Ayers reporting from Taipei. Chinese military and research vessels have been spotted near Taiwan's territory. A Chinese naval destroyer sailed close to a Taiwanese Navy ship on Monday near the median line of the Taiwan Strait, close to Taiwan's outlying Penghu Islands. A Taiwan military fan page posted audio of a radio message it says came from the Chinese destroyer warning its Taiwanese counterpart and saying the ship belongs to Taiwan, China. And a Chinese research vessel was seen on Sunday off the coast of Hualien. Military experts say the ship may have been updating topographical data for Hualien following this month's earthquake. The eastern port is seen as a likely target in a hypothetical invasion of Taiwan. A 5-year-old girl has become the first child born to non-Taiwanese parents to get a disability card. It comes after rules were changed to give more foreigners disability rights. But as her family is finding out, the struggle is far from over. Louise Watt reports.
Five-year-old American Anwin Hart Brown loves the Beijing opera. She's seen it online many times at the family home in New Taipei City, but never in a theatre. That's because, despite having trouble walking and seeing from a distance, she hasn't been allowed to sit in a disabled seat. Until now.
You like the Beijing operas that show the gods, right?
Uh-oh. Anwin has congenital heart disease and left hemiplegic cerebral palsy. The left side of her body is weak. Though born in Taiwan, as the child of foreigners, Anwin's disability was not officially recognized, leaving her locked out of benefits and services. But the regulations have just been changed, and she now has a disability card.
The biggest advantage is not having to tell people that she doesn't have one and explain. And then also getting to go places where she can't take full advantage of them because of her disability.
In Taiwan, only permanent residents from Japan, the United States, Britain and Canada are eligible for a disability certificate. And those Western nations only recently, after a campaign by rights activists. These nationalities have been singled out because their countries offer Taiwanese disability benefits. But Anwin's parents say that much remains inaccessible.
We aren't able to get anything that requires a financial subsidy. So we can't get respite care, which being we don't have family here, and we don't have any support to help take care of her.
So far, they've been told they qualify for discounts for transport and cultural activities. But care and subsidies depend on other government programs.
The Ministry of Health and Welfare told TaiwanPlus that to access most of the benefits and services, a disability card is not enough. For some subsidies, for example, you need a household registration document. And that's something that's only available to Taiwanese citizens.
Rights activists say they will keep fighting and press the government to remove obstacles.
In Taiwan, we have been so blessed with the convenience of centralized database. Everything is consolidated onto the household registration. So we forget how to do it without it. But I think that's something that the local government can learn and to start working on it.
Authorities say An Win will get another assessment to see if she qualifies for more benefits. While there are still gaps in what foreigners can access, for now at least, An Win is happy she will soon get to see and hear Beijing opera performers up close in a theatre. Klein Wong and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
Yay!
Taiwan's constitutional court has convened for a landmark debate on the death penalty. Lawyers representing 37 death row prisoners are arguing that capital punishment is unconstitutional, saying that Taiwan's constitution guarantees the right of existence. The Justice Ministry is defending the use of the death penalty. The court has until September to deliver its judgment. Export orders in the first quarter dipped compared to last year, but there are already signs of a turnaround. Government data indicates that Q1 orders fell 2.1% in the first 3 months of the year, but orders in March were up 1.2% year on year. The March bump was attributed to higher demand for electronics, IT products, and displays such as TVs and monitors. Officials say they expect to see positive year-on-year growth in the second quarter, though that will depend on developments in the Middle East that may affect energy prices. Taiwan is now offering subsidies and other incentives to local independent game developers with the hope of capitalizing on the highly profitable industry. Chris Gorin has the story.
Project Anho's Ark is an award-winning Taiwanese role-playing strategy game developed by local studio Posepa. It's scheduled for release later this year, and will be the first game to receive funding under a new government program aimed at promoting locally produced independent video games. Developers say the funds open up huge opportunities.
一开始规模当然没有想要这么大，那因为有这笔资金，我们可以加入了声优，加入了很多漂亮的画面，做日本还有欧美市场的行销，针对多 IP 来做发展，就是做漫画、小说还有相关的周边商品的改编。
Game industry tracker Newzoo says that the value of the gaming industry in 2023 was $184 billion, more than any other entertainment industry. And the government thinks that Taiwanese developers have something special to bring to the gaming table.
全世界的电影加电视加音乐加起来等于一个游戏业，适合去做一些台湾本地的文化结合惊悚的题材，还有一些游戏公司非常善于做独立音乐跟游戏的结合。这两块是我们观察到目前台湾独立游戏界好像比较特殊的一个现象。
With such a vast market to tap into and a few specialized niches to bank on, Taiwan is hoping that financial incentives like this one bring its local indie developers to the next level. Devin Tsai and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Now we're going to take a quick break, but stick around because when we come back... Rescue efforts are underway as torrential rainstorms batter China's southeastern coast.
This month's top hits on TaiwanPlus. Visit the distillery hidden inside a military tunnel and uncover the secrets behind Jinmen Gaoliang's success.
这是其他酒厂所不能媲美的。
Art Attack invites you to unleash your imagination and discover the limitless creativity of contemporary Taiwanese artists.
我很想找到自己的灵魂。
阿呆湾沉船，它可是世界级的潜点。
Discover the beauty of Taiwanese mountains and seas in this lively reality show like never before. An anesthetist is dragged into a medical negligence case. Will he discover the truth and vindicate himself? vibrant and original programs exclusively on TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, visit our website or follow our social media. Let's go!
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Taiwan's medical community is urging would-be parents to get themselves tested for genetic disorders and thinking of ways to make screening easier and more accessible. John Van Trieste has more.
With the help of a caregiver, Dr. Chen Yanping gets into his wheelchair, ready for another day at work. Chen is a specialist in genomic medicine, working with genetic diseases. For him, it's not just a career. It's a lifelong mission. While still in elementary school, he was diagnosed with spinal muscular atrophy, a genetic condition that weakens muscles and limits motion. Chen is one of around 21,000 people in Taiwan with a genetic disorder, and he's part of a growing movement in Taiwan's medical community to prevent these diseases by screening the genes of newborns, and especially their parents.
如果今天是反过来，如果是我爸妈在结婚生小孩前，我想不用在婚前了，大概在生小孩前，假设有检验的话，就会发现说，也许我们真的可以避免掉这件事情。
There are 3 points where this screening can be done. Taiwan already offers screening for newborns and expectant mothers. This can catch genetic disorders early and give families time to prepare for the decisions they'll need to make. But some like Dr. Chen argue parents should get their genes tested even before they decide to have children. If they learn they could pass on a hereditary disease, they can opt to have a test tube baby. The science is such that in vitro babies don't get certain problem genes. The tests now available in Taiwan can pick up around 30 of the more common genetic disorders. The problem, as these doctors see it, though, is twofold. This testing isn't covered by Taiwan's national health insurance system, and few people realize it's even an option.
如果我们以长远的一个医疗体系的一个预防照护来讲，我们真正应该要努力的其实是加强孕前的带因者筛检，再来是孕期的筛检，以及最后才是新生儿筛检。
Free mass testing programs that have been trialed in countries like Australia have shown promise, but have also raised questions. For example, whether some people might terminate pregnancies where the fetus is found to have a genetic disorder. And some in Taiwan have other concerns about this type of screening too.
第一个呢，就是怕被贴标签的。我被筛检出来说，哎，你们家的种不好，这个是一个很大的一个心理的压力。好，这是贴标签的问题。第二个是保险的问题，很多人就担心说，那这样子，我万一有什么带什么病，我万一多几年以后我会得什么病，那我是不是就没办法保险呢？那我怎么办呢？
Despite reservations, doctors and researchers like these in Taiwan look more and more to government-funded genetic screening for people wanting to become parents. They argue it's less expensive than treating long-term conditions. John Su and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
10 people are dead after 2 military helicopters collided mid-air in Malaysia during a training at a naval base. Footage shows the 2 helicopters' rotor blades coming into contact, sending the aircraft into a downward spiral. One of the vehicles crashed into a nearby sports complex while the other plummeted into the naval base's stadium. There were no survivors from the crash. Malaysia's Navy has announced a formal investigation into the incident. North Korea has carried out its first ever nuclear counterattack drills. State media says North Korean leader Kim Jong-un oversaw the test of the country's so-called nuclear trigger management system. The drill is meant to simulate a nuclear counterattack against enemy targets. The South Korean military says North Korea also fired several missiles off its east coast. Pyongyang has been speeding up weapons development as diplomacy stalls with the U.S. and South Korea. Chinese authorities are racing to rescue residents of Guangdong province after torrential rain led to major flooding in the region. Rosie Greninger reports.
Rescuers navigate through inundated streets, attempting to reach people in Guangdong province in southeastern China, left stranded by major flooding. Days of record-breaking rain in the region caused the banks of several major rivers to burst, causing water levels to reach the highest the area has seen in half a century. The fast-moving water submerged dozens of homes, collapsed bridges and caused landslides, cutting off access to roads and major highways. Over 100,000 residents have been evacuated from their homes, as authorities search for 10 who are still missing. 4 people have been confirmed dead. Farmers whose crops have been washed out by the deluge say their livelihoods have been destroyed. A bird's-eye view shows the extent of the damage to Guangdong, one of China's most populated provinces with 127 million people. With only treetops and roofs visible in the murky floodwater, authorities estimate losses could total nearly $20 million. The region is prone to flooding, but residents say this downpour is unusually heavy and began earlier than normal.
就前年开始吧，就震撼是相对是比较大的，还有今年，因为以前很少见的时候洪水它涨到这个位置的，主要还是泄洪嘛。
Scientists say unseasonable extreme weather has become more intense and unpredictable due to climate change, and will only become worse, sparking concerns about the region's ability to protect itself during future disasters. Thunderstorms are expected to return to the region later this week, but the downpour has now subsided, allowing the water to begin draining as authorities continue the search for the missing. Patrick Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
In sports news, a Taiwanese canoe sprinter has become the first person from the country to qualify for the Olympics in the sport. Liao made the cut after winning multiple international competitions, most recently claiming silver at the 2024 Asian Canoe Sprint Championship in Tokyo on Sunday. He was also the first canoeist from Taiwan to win gold in the Asian Games last year. Liao paid tribute to his mother for pushing him to keep going in the sport. The US-China rivalry has entered the world of sports. Reports found Chinese swimmers who tested positive for prohibited substances were cleared for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Now, US anti-doping officials are saying world authorities botched the investigation. The US is not happy with China. While the two countries have been at odds over geopolitics and technology, they're now clashing over sports. The United States Anti-Doping Agency wants to investigate the World Anti-Doping Agency, also known as WADA. They believe WADA incorrectly handled a case in which 23 Chinese swimmers tested positive for a prescription heart medication banned in athletics. That medication, trimetazidine, or TMZ, turned up in the swimmers' test results just months before the delayed 2020 Tokyo Olympics held in 2021. The Chinese swimming team was also still allowed to compete in Tokyo and went on to win 6 medals, including 3 gold.
Athletes are calling for, a review and investigation, and we have to get to the bottom of how this possibly happened.
WADA says after the positive test results, it turned to Chinese anti-doping authorities to carry out an investigation. Chinese officials say the swimmers had been unknowingly exposed to the drug, and that they'd all stayed at the same hotel and eaten TMZ-contaminated food. Traces of the drug were allegedly found in the hotel's kitchen and drains, but there was no explanation as to how the drug made its way into the establishment.
The ultimate source, meaning how the TMZ got into the kitchen, was not discovered.
All the swimmers who tested positive were let off the hook. The U.S. says that was a failure on WADA's part.
I really appreciate WADA opening up and providing some information about their process. It was really, unfortunately, very unsatisfying, and actually opened up a whole load of questions about the situation.
They also say the Chinese investigation was unreliable.
They've had an authoritarian government with its, secret, security system provide a defense that they really don't question or challenge.
But both China and WADA say they carried out due process and the investigation was thorough.
At every stage, WADA followed all due process and diligently investigated every lead and line of inquiry in this matter. If we had to do it over again now, we would do exactly the same thing.
这个事件，2021年经中国反兴奋剂中心全方位深入细致调查后，判定阳性为相关运动员在完全不知情的情况下摄入受污染的食物所致。
WADA says it might bring the U.S. anti-doping authorities to court, something the U.S. side is open to.
I would welcome it because it would be a lot of fun to see the discovery between, and the emails and the discussion between why they decided not to follow the rules.
These allegations are flying at a contentious time. The Paris Olympics are just 4 months away. As the top two performers at the Tokyo Games, Team USA and Team China have an even greater responsibility to set the standard for integrity and fairness in sports. TaiwanPlus videographer Liao also contributed to that report. And thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Finally, check out this unique fireworks display in Taipei, part of a birthday celebration for the Taoist god of medicine, Bao Sen Da Di. I'm Leslie Liao. Take care and see you next time.